Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Leah Parsons coming in to share my weekly chat about the deep stuff in life, seeking truth. And on this journey, when I started my yoga practice and I stepped on the yoga path, is when things really started opening up for me. And I feel like that is what happens to all of us on our path when we're struggling, when we're in deep pain, when we can't see a way out of something. Something will show up and call to you. But often, if we're too engulfed in our mind and the stories about what's happening in our life at that point in time, if we're so caught up in the story of whatever it is, the pain, the job loss, the grief, the health crisis, maybe somebody else's drama or family dynamics, when we're so caught up in the mind, kind of twirling in and out of that, we miss the invitations, even when they're not so subtle. Sometimes they're subtle and sometimes they're not so subtle. And we may miss that invitation of where your soul is calling you to go if we're not open for it. So in my deep pain and grief after my daughter died, somebody mentioned that I should try yoga and go to yoga. And my first reaction was a hard no, and my whole body closed up like, I can barely walk. How am I supposed to do yoga? But there was a deeper calling that I noticed, because in that place of the deep, deep pain and suffering, even though I was spiraling in the pain, I was also very open and vulnerable to suggestions of a new way, even though I didn't know it at the time. Because when you're in a deep, deep place and all your defenses are kind of down because you can't navigate it and you don't know what to do, you can't put those masks on because they're not fitting you any longer. So those coping skills are kind of collapsing around you. I find that in those moments, there is deep pain and spiraling, but there's also an opening. There's also an opening there where it's like, why not? Why not try it? Because I don't know what to do. I don't have the answer. I'm not reaching in my mind to try to pull myself together because I can't pull myself together. So it's in those times that I find that we might be more open to something different, to trying something different. And I had no idea where that was going to take me, of course. But that first class, when I left there, it was a different type of yoga than I was expecting, because of course we have stories and beliefs about everything. But I left there, that yoga class, it was a gentle, loving class. And I left there feeling lighter in my body, in my spirit, and in my mind. And even though it only lasted about an hour before everything clouded heaviness over me again, that was enough. That was enough for me to hold on to, because at least I had something to hold on to. Because as human beings, we want to land somewhere. We want to know that there's a safety net. We want to know that things are somewhat normal somewhere. And if we feel totally chaotic inside of us and not knowing the next step to take or the next guidance, we will reach for books and we'll read things and we'll reach for things to numb us out. We will surround ourselves with people because we just want to land somewhere and feel safe. But we first have to feel safe inside of ourselves. So that is what yoga started to teach me. And it took a while, of course. Everything doesn't happen overnight. Things are a progression. So once I said yes to yoga and I kept going back, then I was able to start experiencing what I felt on the inside. It wasn't always comfortable. Eventually the ego mind, my mind wanted to come in, try to tell me that it wasn't worth it, that I shouldn't go. And sitting with the uncomfortable feelings wasn't familiar to me. It wasn't something I would normally do. But I knew I also had to do something drastically different. So navigating my internal world changed everything in the external world. And it was just being so gentle, so patient, so kind, and so compassionate to myself that I was able to stay in that process, that I was able to meet whatever was coming up. It doesn't mean all of a sudden I was healed. It just meant that I was finding something within me, a strength within me, that I was able to sit with those emotions, to sit with the uncomfortable feelings that I once would have ran away from, that I once would have shut down, pushed down into my own body, for my body to deal with it. And so that was just the beginning. I can talk more about my yoga path on another video, many more videos, because what it did by bringing me inside is that no, life isn't all of a sudden bliss and beautiful, but I'm okay to realize that there's going to be suffering. I'm okay to wake up and feel pain and not go, oh no, not that again, and have to numb out. I'm okay to say, oh, look what's coming up here, and be able to go in and touch it in the beginning before PTSD episodes happen, before I'm edgy, uncomfortable, and snappy and judgy, before I'm angry and full of guilt and shame and all the emotions that come along with when we're suffering and we don't have the capability or the emotional bandwidth to sit with it. But if we can just sit with it a little each day, if we can sit with it for a moment or two now and then, that's enough to allow the soul to keep guiding you to where you need to go. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Let me know if that resonates with you. I know that many people in the world have suffered multiple traumas, and walking around with your immune system lit up and on fire. My nervous system is really quick to light up. And sometimes I can catch it, and sometimes I can't catch it. But again, we have to have some grace and compassion for ourselves when that happens, because our nervous system has become conditioned over time. So in our traumas, we really do have to rewind it and catch it when we can, and then know that it's okay when we don't. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. And if you're not having a wonderful day, I hope that you find moments that you can actually stay present for those uncomfortable feelings. And I will see you next week.